Welcome back to another episode of the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. Well, guys, man, we got to get off into this. We got to get off into what Kevin Stefanski said yesterday after the final preseason game when the Cleveland Browns took on the Los Angeles Rams. He said some very interesting things about Shedeur, and it is shocking. But we're going to unpack all this here next, here on the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. Well, guys, man, I'm here to tell you, man, Kevin Stefanski said some shocking things about Shedeur Sanders after the final preseason game against the Los Angeles Rams. And we saw that game take place, and we saw Joe Flacco started out. Joe Flacco, Joe Cool. Joe looked pretty good. For a 40-year-old quarterback, he looked pretty good. But the thing about it is Joe Flacco was out there with the first team unit. And, you know, he had his big play receivers out there. He had his big tight end, Njoku. He had Jerry Jeudy. He had the offensive line, the first string offensive line. So Joe moved the ball. He looked very impressive moving the ball down on the scoring play. And then we saw Dillon Gabriel come in the game. Dillon Gabriel, he looked very good himself. Dillon Gabriel had some weapons that he could work with. He still had part of the first team offensive line out there and a few second, string offensive line out there, but he still had, playmakers out there. He still had a serviceable running back. When he was handing the ball off, they was moving the chain, so you just couldn't gang pile on the quarterback. Dillon looked real good. And guys, I want to let you guys know, man, these videos and things that we're talking about Shedeur Sanders, this is not to bash Joe Flacco, Dillon Gabriel, Kenny Pickett, or Tyler Huntley. These videos are being made to make everybody aware of the treatment that is going on surrounding around Shedeur Sanders. Now, we know Shedeur Sanders is a very exceptional, excellent quarterback. And it's just the way that ever since draft night, we know what went on draft day. We know what the collusion looked like. We got people talking about the NFL got together with this collusion and calling these general managers not to pick Shedeur Sanders, to humble this kid, to make an example out of him. This is what this is about, to bring awareness to how they're treating Shedeur Sanders as he tries to get his NFL career off the ground. This ain't no way, shape, or form of people producing videos bashing Joe Flacco or Dillon Gabriel. This is about the misuse and the mistreatment that they're doing to Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur Sanders is an NFL quarterback, and he just wants to play football. And for them to try to make an example out of him and use him as, the scapegoat, use his jersey as jersey sales, and then mistreat him as an NFL football player, that's why people are coming to the forefront making these videos, because of the mistreatment of Shedeur Sanders. Now, we all know training camp got off and Shedeur Sanders was getting limited reps, wasn't getting nothing with the first team. He had to go out there and make the best of his opportunities. That's what Shedeur Sanders has been doing. So we saw him get put in the starting lineup against the Carolina Panthers, where he did a great job. He was exceptional. He balled out. He showed out. 138 yards in the air, 2 touchdowns, 19 yards on the ground. And then we saw in practice, they said he had arm soreness. They held him out. That was another excuse for not giving him no reps. Then the oblique injury held him out. That was another excuse for not getting him no reps. Not able to have a connection with the first team. But it seems like everybody on the first team, like Jerry Jeudy came out and spoke about him. And he said that, you know, his arm talent is exceptional, one of the best arms in the game. We heard what Myles Garrett had to say about him. We heard what Njoku had to say about him. So he has that good camaraderie around the team, and it seems like all the teammates like him. They gravitate to him, and he gravitates to them. Also, we've seen the likes of people in training camp, of all the media personnel, talking about from what they see of Shedeur Sanders, man. He's out there making all the right plays. He's doing everything well. And then you get to the last preseason game where everybody gets a shot. So what I'm saying is they gave Joe Flacco an opportunity to play with the first team. And they gave Dylan Gabriel an opportunity to play with the first unit along with the second unit. But when it was time for Shedeur Sanders coming to game, they gave Shedeur Sanders all the scraps, guys that are not even going to make the 53-man roster. And you saw Shedeur Sanders out there with the sack. Some of it, like he said, he'll put it on him because, you know, he's trying to make a play holding on the ball too long. Because that's what we accustomed to seeing from Shedeur, making plays. He was out there trying to do everything he can do with the limited personnel. They took all the weapons away from him. So now, you know, the narrative that's going around about Kevin Stefanski trying to sabotage Shedeur Sanders is a real thing. So after what we saw yesterday, a lot of people wanted to address it. A lot of people wanted to ask Kevin Stefanski the question. And guys, I have the shocking audio. But before we get off into that, we partner with Underdog Fantasy, and this is a word from our sponsor.
Underdog Fantasy is the best way to play fantasy sports. Let me tell you about the easiest way to get in on some WNBA and NBA action. Find your player, pick higher or lower, win you some extra cash. Pick between 2 to 5 players to fill out your pick'em entry, get every pick right, and win some serious cash. Use my promo code SBD23 and receive up to $1,000 in bonus cash. Now that it's football time, follow Simply Ball Dropping as I share my picks. Like I said, pick your player, choose your amount, win money. Make picks, win cash. Thank you, Underdog Fantasy, for the partnership with us. And thank you for using promo code SBD23 on Underdog Fantasy.
Well, guys, with that being said, man, let's get off into this press conference that Kevin Stefanski held after yesterday's game earlier and today. And you're going to be shocking, and you're going to be raising your eyebrow at Kevin Stefanski. And shout out to Mary Kay Cabot for asking these difficult questions, and she got straight to it. Let's take a listen.
Can you address this sort of persistent narrative that that you're trying to sabotage Shedeur Sanders, especially after yesterday and not putting him in for the 2-minute?
Yeah, obviously, I don't concern myself with outside type of things, but I'm committed to his development, just like all of our rookies. So we'll continue to focus on getting our guys better, and that's what we'll stay committed to, and that's what's important to me.
And did you, I'm sure you kind of answered this last night, but why didn't you keep him in for the 2-minute, or why did you decide to take him out?
Yeah, nothing more than decided to give Snoop some work at the end of the game.
Okay, thank you.
Now, you heard what Kevin Stefanski had to say. And like I said, shout out to Mary Kay Cabot for asking him a direct question. And then he, as a coach, when you get asked a question like that, man, you're supposed to say, next question. But for him to get off into answering the question to give an excuse, it's got to be something about that. That was shocking to me. That's very alarming. And then he used the word but, and then the little chuckle. So, man, see, things like that make you think that, Kevin Stefanski is really trying to sabotage Shedeur Sanders. And like I said, man, this ain't got nothing to do with Joe Flacco or Dylan Gabriel or Tyler Huntley or Kenny Pickett. This is about the mistreatment of Shedeur Sanders. And when somebody asks you a question like that, instead of getting off into it, because that's damning right there. This narrative about sabotaging a player and you get off into answering it. As an owner or something like that, you always say, man, next question. But there is reports out there from general manager Andrew Berry talking about they're going to keep 4 quarterbacks on the roster. So it's a great chance that Shedeur Sanders will make this 53-man roster. But Kevin Stefanski, man, you got to do better, man. Like I said, man, this narrative out there about him sabotaging Shedeur and the way that you answered it, people are going to believe that this is what this is. You're sabotaging Shedeur Sanders because she immediately asked right after the fact of yesterday's preseason game. Shedeur looked bad out there yesterday. And, you know, the pieces that he had around him, it made it even worse. And then the Los Angeles Rams defense, you know, they're guys that are trying to make teams. They out there getting their licks in, man, and out there talking noise and stuff like that. It just made it even look worse. But that just goes to the fact that, man, it could be some truth around Kevin Stefanski trying to sabotage Shedeur Sanders, man. I see everybody in the comments section, #salute. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, turn your post notifications on so you know every time Simply Ball drops another hot banger. Y'all guys, get down in the comments section. Let me know what you think about today's video. And this is going to wrap up another episode of the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. I'm your host and the man behind the mic, K-Sap. We're going to catch you on the next one. Deuces.
Thanks for listening to the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. Be sure to subscribe, like, and share on all major platforms.
That's all, folks.